Okay, let's dive right in. An earnings call, it's really a company's moment of truth. It's this high stakes, absolutely fascinating peek behind the corporate curtain.
See, every single quarter, companies like Andean Precious Metals have to lay it all out there and report on their performance. There's no hiding. It's a mandatory update for investors, for analysts, and really for anyone who's paying attention. And they do this with a big conference call where the top executives present all the numbers, and then they have to face a live Q&A session. It's a totally unfiltered look at their successes, their challenges, and their game plan for what's coming next. You get to see it all. So what is the real story they're telling about their 2025 performance? That's what we're here to do. We're going to deconstruct their big year-end call and find out exactly what's going on. All right, first up, the headline numbers. And let me tell you, for Andean in 2025, these numbers tell a story of a company that is absolutely hitting its stride in a huge way. Let's start at the very top line. We're talking a record-breaking $359 million in total revenue for the year. That's a massive figure, and it really sets the stage for everything else. But revenue is only one piece of the puzzle. What's left after you pay all the bills? Well, in their case, an incredibly impressive $118 million in net income. That is pure profit. And that profit translated into some serious financial muscle, $167 million in liquid assets. Now, that's not just a number on a page. That's firepower. It means they have the cash ready to go to pay down debt, invest in growth, and just handle whatever the market throws at them. And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. The CEO, Alberto Morales, said it himself. This wasn't just a good year. It was a step change, a fundamental transformation of the company's financial health. So a record year is fantastic, right? But the question is, how did they actually do it? Now we're going to peek behind the big numbers and look at the actual operations on the ground. Their income comes from a really balanced mix of metals, about 57% from silver and 43% from gold. This is actually a really smart strategy because it helps them spread their risk across two different markets instead of betting it all on one. And this revenue comes from two key assets. You've got the San Bartolome mine, which is their consistent, high-margin silver operation, kind of like their steady workhorse. And then there's the Golden Queen mine, a gold producer that really started to ramp things up toward the end of the year. All in all, they produced just under 100,000 gold equivalent ounces. That's just the standard way of bundling different metals into one number. Now, it is worth pointing out this was slightly below their own prediction, their guidance. And for investors, hitting guidance is a big test of credibility, so even a small miss gets noticed. Still, it was clearly enough to fuel those record financial results we just talked about. Okay, but let's be real, no earnings call is ever perfect. There's almost always some kind of challenge or a setback to talk about. And in this story, that little bump in the road revolves around a crucial report. So before we get into the news, what exactly is a technical report? Well, in simple terms, think of it like a deep dive audit of a mine's potential. It tells investors, here's how much gold and silver we think is actually in the ground. It's absolutely vital for figuring out what a company like this is really worth. So here's the issue. That key technical report for their Golden Queen mine has been delayed by a few months. And the reason? Well, the labs that analyze their rock samples are just totally backed up. They've got 47 new drill samples just sitting there waiting to be processed. So what's the company's take on this? Well, their argument is pretty straightforward. They're basically saying that while the delay is frustrating, waiting lets them include all this new drill data. Their view is that this will end up creating a much stronger, more complete, and ultimately more valuable report for everybody. Okay, so with a record year in the books and one challenge being managed, the focus naturally shifts to what's next. What does the roadmap for 2026 actually look like? They laid out three really clear goals. First, hit their production guidance of 100,000 to 114,000 ounces. Second, invest between $21 and $30 million in what's called growth capital, so things like new equipment and expanding their leach pads, which is how they extract the gold. And third, and this is a big one, go after a major stock exchange listing. Let's really focus on that last point because it's arguably the single biggest milestone they've got planned for the year ahead. It's what investors like to call a catalyst. The company is planning to get listed on the New York Stock Exchange. So why does this matter so much? Well, an NYSE listing puts them on the world's biggest stage. It opens them up to a way larger pool of investors, including some major U.S. funds. That can mean more trading, better liquidity for the stock, and ultimately, it could boost the company's whole valuation. It's just a huge step up in credibility. And that brings us right to the final question. When you put it all together, a record strong balance sheet, a clear plan for operations, and a huge catalyst like an NYSE listing on the horizon, it really paints a compelling picture. The story of 2025 was a massive turnaround, but the question this earnings call really leaves you with is this: was that just the prelude to an even bigger story of growth in 2026?